Hey, hey. Thank you for those who have joined. I'm just going to wait a few more moments and then we will get started. Also, just a few quick housekeeping rules. I want to thank all of you, any of you who have contributed to my Cash App or my Venmo. I appreciate you. You guys, I know this is a follower supported show. So if you like what you see, if you want to see more content, you can find me on Cash App and Venmo Shay Charday. Appreciate all of you guys. Also, feel free to send in some super chats. And yeah, we will, we're going to get started. So just to hop right into today's topic, something that I hear a lot is, women being encouraged to expand their options. Now, I usually hear this in reference to women, being open to dating interracially or dating other ethnicities, racial groups, et cetera, et cetera. But there's this whole idea of like, hey, women, you need to expand your options, especially if the kinds of guys that you've been dating or you have been entertaining are on a lower level. You need to expand your options. So I understand in theory what I understand in theory the idea behind that, but my personal belief is that women actually can't expand their options. They actually don't have the ability to do so. And when I mean expand their options, I mean women cannot expand their options for a long-term relationship or a marriage. Reason being is because men are the ones that control access to relationship. Women are the ones that control access to sex usually, but men are the ones who control access to relationship. And why is that? Because men are the one who propose. Men are the one who propose. Unless women are willing to take the traditional stance and say, you know what, forget about it. Forget all to the traditional whatever. Unless women by and large are willing to propose to men, then it is on the men. It is on the men to decide whether or not they want to wife someone up. It is on the men to decide whether or not they actually want to be in a long-term relationship. And, based upon recent data, whether it's anecdotally what you see in social media, whether or not you just talk to women. I mean, you can talk to modern feminist women and many of them will still tell you like, hey, like the guy should just propose. I even did a poll a few days ago on my community tab just to kind of get a pulse. And I think it was about 60% of women who said that no, they would not propose to a man. They just would not do it under any circumstance. Think about another 25% said they would just prefer to die alone, versus proposing to a man. And even I read an article not too long ago from, I think it was from brides.com, if I can find it. Yeah, from brides.com. And they said right now in heterosexual relationships, about 5% of women propose. Actually, I may read some stats from the article because it was pretty interesting. About 5% of women propose. Now, what was interesting is that they actually did a study and they looked at men, and men, I think it said like 70% of men said that they would be open to a woman proposing to them. They would be open to a woman taking the first step. But by and large, women just ain't willing to do it. They just ain't willing to do it. So, thank you for those of you who have hopped on, who have joined. If you please get the likes up, please comment, tag anyone on this topic who you think may find this topic interesting. And we're talking about why I believe women cannot expand their options. Thank you, Mr. Bobby Wright. Thank you. I know you are so consistent. You are always supporting the channel. I really appreciate you. Also, you guys, you can send in any super chats if you want, or you can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Charday if you want to support this channel and see more content like this coming to you. But as I said, one of the reasons it is a fallacy to tell women to expand their options is because, again, women do not control access to relationships. Now, as a woman, yeah, you can get guys who maybe will date you, who will take you out, who will want to have a one-night stand, who may want to have a sexual relationship. You can definitely get that. That's easy. That is easy. But as far as a man, getting down on a knee or wanting to wife you up or wanting to have you long term, that is generally something that men control. And so that's why when women are told, oh, if you're dating this guy or you're dating these kind of guys, then you need to expand your options to get these kind of men to commit to you long term. That is a fallacy because, again, like I said, it don't matter how much you try to change yourself or how much you try to expand your options. If those men, if the kind of men that you want aren't checking for you, if the kind of men that you desire are not actively pursuing you, then you can't expand your options. And like I said, the only way to change that around would be to get women by and large to say, hey, you know what? We live in a modern era. We live in an era where it's 50-50. We live in a time where this is about men and women being equal. So I can propose. If I love a man, if I see a man that I'm interested in, that I want to get to know, I can propose. That's, in my personal opinion, that's going to be the only way that we actually see these things shift. We see these things change. So yes, I do not believe, for that reason alone, I don't believe women really can expand their options. They can maybe expand their dating options as far as maybe, like I said, dating more guys, getting more guys who will maybe want to have fun with them, getting more guys who maybe will, be with them for a couple of months, a couple of weeks, however long. But as far as a long-term relationship approach, what you can get is what you can get. So thank you those who have thank you for those who have hopped on. Again, if you like this, please like, please comment, tag anyone on this who may find this, may actually find this interesting. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, let me. So yeah, so actually, I think I want to bring up this article. It touched upon this a little bit because I actually thought it was a little bit interesting, and it goes a little bit more into this. So I'm going to bring it up. 1 second. If I can find it. Okay. Okay, so the name of this article is, it says brides attitudes towards women proposing are shifting, so it's time we start asking. So again, the whole premise of this whole thing is that, women should be proposing more, or women can propose more. Here is one way to, women can expand their options. So I want to read into this a little bit because I actually thought it was interesting. When it comes to who should propose, many people still follow the traditional model where men do all the heavy lifting. Surveys have shown that women propose in only about 5% of heterosexual married couples. And sure, it's a tradition, something that is very important to a lot of people. Again, and like I said, if you just look at social media, if we just look anecdotally and what happens in social media, and anytime a woman comes out and says that she proposed to a man, the hellfire that she gets from the femininity channels, from divester channels, from just channels, period. It's very rare that I see, the strong female, like YouTube space in support of that. So just want to keep that in perspective. But proposing is a huge decision, one that can shape the rest of your life. So why would 95% of women who presumably want to get married just wait around for it to happen? Perhaps it's because women are still ostracized for breaking free from the traditional relationships norms. Like I said earlier, women get a ton of. I've seen a lot of negativity, a lot of negative videos, a lot of just hate that women get for actually proposing to a man. So I think just socially, woman to women, socially, it is looked down upon. Women are more likely to be targets of criticism, as I said before. Besides the traditional component, there's a clear and worrisome reason women don't propose: a societal aversion to sort of women, especially in the romantic sphere. Women are meant to wait, not to try and rush or trap men. Girls are cautioned against coming off as bossy. Women, even the highest seats of business and government, still have their voices trampled on by their male counterparts. Women are told that being bold is considered a flaw, and when it comes to relationship, it's even more frowned upon. Women don't want to be seen as less feminine or too sexual or coming on too strong. I don't know. I don't know that I totally and completely agree with that. From what I understand they're saying, Thank you. And thank you, those of you who have hopped on. Please get the likes up. Please tag anyone on here that we may find that interesting. We're talking about why I believe women cannot expand their marriage options. Um, Also, if you like this channel, you can social support, hit the Cash App, hit the Venmo. You can find me, Shay Sade. So it sounds like what this article is saying is that socially it's still frowned upon women, a woman being seen as assertive or bossy is seen negatively. I slightly disagree with that premise just because we have all these boss babes, all these hashtag I can do all bad by myself, all these hashtag strong independent women. Like that wouldn't be so popular among modern women. That whole idea of being strong and independent and impervious would not be so popular if it wasn't something that I think the female space actually considered important. So I don't know if I buy the premise that like, oh, women don't want to propose because they don't want to come off as too bossy. I don't think coming off as bossy is a problem that modern women really, I don't think modern women really see that as an issue. If anything, I think the whole idea of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be bossy and only a strong man can handle me. Only a strong man is gonna be the one that can sustain me. I see that being more of a actual a consistent attitude. So I don't know if I buy that. But again, I just wanted to read the article because they touched upon a few interesting points. It says, so some women are leading the charge of proposing and taking the first step. Let's not forget that some women are already doing it. I realized I was going to ask Pascal to marry me when he was on holiday and I was home alone looking after the cats, missing him, says Sophie, who proposed to her boyfriend. I thought I should probably wait, but I knew I wouldn't. I'm far too impatient. I flew out to meet him at his parents' house and friends, and I bit the words back for days. On the last line, I wrote, marry me, Pascal, in my fanciest, most calligraphic handwriting and gave it to him under the stars in the French countryside. He was totally bewildered as if it was a few years ahead of his schedule, but it made perfect sense to both of us. If you know what you want, why wait? If you and your partner really have a partnership, you probably know that you're on the same page. It's as much your decision as his. It says for some couples, it's just not just an issue. Again, now, I asked, like I said, I did a poll earlier. Gosh, I wish I had my phone around me. I could pull it up. But anyways, I did a poll earlier, and I think it was about 70% of people of women who said, yeah, like, if I know that I love the guy and I feel ready, why not actually propose to him? Now that was 17%, give or take. This company, brides.com, said that it was about 5% of women who actually are willing to do it. 5%. That is an incredibly low amount of number. So take that into consideration. Moving on. Okay, so never wait around for someone else to make decisions for you in your life. Gone are the days when a woman needed to wait around to be picked by a man to no longer place a burden on her family. So why are we still waiting to do the asking? Attitudes are changing, and it's time for action to change with them. So then it talks about 5 women who proposed to their partner. 5 women. I think that's the end of it. So basically what this article is pushing is this notion that it's like, yeah, generally it's men who are the ones who are actually tend to be the one who propose. There was somewhere in here, okay, I missed it, because I think there's somewhere in here where it said they did a poll. Oh, right here. It said attitudes are changing faster than behaviors. It said, but the times are changing. The dating site Match.com recently found that, okay, actually it was 95% of men would be up for women making the first move. 95% of men would be up for women making the first move. Like going in for a kiss or asking for a phone number. And we're seeing a similar attitude shift when it comes to proposals. Surprisingly, in a survey of 500 men, Glamour found that 70%, yes, 70%, would be psyched if a woman proposed. So we're definitely progressing in our collective view, but obviously 70% of women in heterosexual couples still aren't doing the asking. That's interesting. Okay, so they're saying 95% of men are open to women making the first move. Well, first of all, I think, yes, if you guys saw my video that I did recently on why men are not approaching women, I think absolutely, totally. I mean, the amount of risk that goes into now a man actually a man actually approaching a woman, it's so high, like being this Me Too or post Me Too movement, where if a man looks at a woman the wrong way and she's not feeling it, or she can cry harassment, she can cry sexual assault, and there's almost no checks and balance for them. And so I think the risks right now are so much higher for a man even wanting to approach a woman that he finds attractive. So yes, of course, modern men are just like, things are so much more complicated now. Gone are the days of chivalry, really. Gone are the days of things being clear. So yeah, just to make it easier for men, I would assume that most are just like, yeah, let her make the first move, so I don't have to worry about a sexual harassment charge. I don't have to worry about getting rejected. I don't have to worry about a bad attitude or someone looking down at me just because I was trying to say hey or trying to be nice. So thank you, Percy, for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, all those who also just hopped on. If you like this, please, or if you like what you're hearing, please tag somebody on this. We're talking about women and why I believe they cannot expand their options. Okay, so see what you said. Shay, I'm so tired of women saying the word boss. I'm a lot against being a boss, but a lot of people are saying it because it's a trend. Do they even know what bosses go through? A few years of no profit. I feel like I completely and totally agree. And that goes back to my premise earlier in the article. I don't know if you were on to that point. They're saying like, oh, right now, of all heterosexual couples, who get proposed to, it's only 5% of women. Only 5% of women are proposing to men. Only 5%. So that's 95% of men who are still proposing and doing the heavy lifting. Their argument was because women don't want to be seen as bossy or assertive, and I'm just like, that's just a bold-faced lie, in my opinion. Because to your point, how many hashtag boss babes, hashtag boss, hashtag girl boss, hashtag strong and independent, hashtag, like how many times do we see women, modern women in particular, talking about how they are strong and assertive and bossy, and that being a good thing, and that meaning that they have goals, you know what I mean, they're ambitious, and that being promoted as a good quality trait. And so I don't buy the idea that women are proposing because they don't want to be seen as assertive. I don't think that is truth at all. I just think women, by and large, aren't proposing because they just don't want to propose. At the end of the day, like, they just don't want to do it. They still feel like men should do it. We still live in an era where, by and large, men are expected to be traditional and women are expected to have the option to be traditional or modern based upon what suits them best. And so they just strictly don't want to propose because they just don't want to do it. There's not necessarily any logic behind it, especially being that we're supposed to live in a 50-50 environment. There's not really logic. I think it's just more personal preference. So to me, that is why women are not proposing by and large. Now, and another interesting thing on that article is where it talks about how, 70% of men would be open to women proposing, 70%. And so it definitely seems like men, from what I'm hearing, are a lot more progressive in that sense, are a lot more progressive of just like, hey, if she wants to make the first move to actually move forward and get married, by all means, they'd be open to it. We obviously know this is not a shared sentiment across the board. It is still hugely looked down upon, especially among women, if she proposes first. I mean, I don't think a woman, will be. She may not be like outcasted totally, but she's definitely going to get the side eye. Like, if you got girlfriends and you know that one of your girlfriends is thinking about proposing, like, you're probably going to give her a side eye and be like, are you sure? Like, you should wait. Like, she's just not going to get the support. She's just not. In all this modern 50-50 stuff that, people are talking about, it just ain't going to happen. So, thank you for those of you who have hopped on. Thank you for those of you who have just, sitting in some love. I appreciate your super chats. We are talking about the real reason women can't expand their options. So with that said, going back to my earlier point, the primary reason women are not able to expand their options is because they're not willing to propose. They are not willing to take that step. That is something that men, by and large, are expected to do, even though we claim to live in a society that is 50-50, that is equal, although we claim to live in a space where women are supposed to carry their weight, men are supposed to carry their weight, and it doesn't really matter because the spirit of all things equal, partnership. Still, by and large, men are expected to be traditional and men are expected to propose. And if that is the case, then women are still basically waiting around for a man that they want to propose to, or a man that they want to wife them up. And if that isn't happening, if the men that you want aren't checking for you, then it's like, okay, sorry. It's like I said, unless you're willing to go after it and propose and say, hey, I want you, and pursue that person. If he's not checking for you, then it's an illusion to say like you can expand your options, because actually, no, you can't. You can't long term. I'm talking about long-term marriage. I'm talking about a person actually being like, okay, I'm going to wife you up. You can't do that if you're not the one who actually makes the first step. So I personally just want to completely and totally debunk that whole idea that says, hey, women, you can expand your options. Yeah, if you don't like these dudes over here, you don't like them over there, that's fine. Like, just go date, interracially, or just go do whatever. Like, all the stuff that we hear that I feel like sometimes is said to actually make women try to appease women, or try to appease how they're feeling, actually, versus dealing with the fact that, like, hey, if the guys that you like aren't checking for you, then you got to look at a few things. You got to look at why. Is it the energy that you're putting off? Is it maybe that your standards are a little bit too high? Is it that you just have unrealistic standards? Like, there's all these reasons. But telling a woman that she has access to something, or that she controls something that we already know she doesn't. Like I said, we already know women aren't willing to take that first step. It's up to the men to take the first step. So then why are we going to sit around and play games and say, oh, women, we can do this, and that, where it's like, no, you can't. Not if you're willing to actually, you're willing to actually step up and say, okay, I'm going to start to make this socially acceptable that as a woman, I can propose to the man that I want. So thank you for those of you who have hopped on. Thank you for those of you who have sent in your comments, your super chats. Tag anyone on this comment who you think may find it interesting. We were talking about the real reason women can't expand their options. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull up something. Let me see if this comes through. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting all these notifications in. So now with that said, I'd like to get your guys' opinion in on this. For those of you who are actually listening, what do you like? Would you personally like if a woman proposed to you? Would you like that? Please submit in the comment section. Put 1 if you would like to see a woman propose to you. If you are open to a woman propose to you, put 2 if you are not open to a woman proposing to you. But I'd like to know, what do you think? Do you agree? Are you part of the 95% of the men who say, hey, like, I would like a woman to propose, I would like her to make the first step? Are you just like, nah, I'm not interested, like, I don't want nothing to do with these females, with these modern women, with these broads. I want nothing to do with it. Let me know. Leave your comments in the comment section. What I will say though is thank you, Johnny K. I see you. Okay, so you're not interested. Again, if you are interested, if you are open for a woman proposing, put 1. If you are not interested in a woman proposing, put 2. I think also what I don't really hear women addressing a ton of times is the fact that there's actually also not a lot of incentive for men to marry. There's just little to no incentive for men to marry right now. The marriage laws are just simply not in their favor. The family court, generally speaking, is just not in their favor. And so I think a lot of men already are just like, marriage is an incredibly bad business deal. At least 60, 70, 80 years ago, if a person was to get married, if people were to get married, there is the expectation that, like, there are clear gender roles. Women were doing certain things, men were doing certain things. They weren't necessarily in this competitive space. Men were primarily the breadwinners. women were at home, managing the home, cooking the food, maintaining, like doing things like that. Like the gender roles were a lot more clear. Divorce was not socially acceptable at all. I mean, even if I can even look at my family and look at my grandparents, great grandparents going back, and how like it was. Even if you talk to them, it was not socially acceptable, and so it was a lot. Maybe 60, 70 years ago, it was a better deal, really, at the very least from a social or cultural standpoint, for a man and woman to marry, because there was not this competition. There really was not. Women just knew what they were doing. There is expectations, for better, for worse, for what they were to do, and also for men, there was expectations of what to do, and so there wasn't this confusion. But I think now, fast forward, it's a little bit. My personal opinion is that it's very difficult. I think it's very difficult, and in many instances, it does not make men. It does not make sense from a men's standpoint for them to get married, just because of the laws, because the laws are not in their favor. Because unfortunately, most divorces are instigated by women. I want to say it's like 70%. A huge amount of divorces are initiated by women. And then, like I said, you start getting into child support and all that kind of stuff. And it's bad. It's bad out there. And so I think I don't really hear a lot of female spaces talking about this and really going deep into marriage laws. That actually, maybe I should be a separate podcast, really talking about going deep into that. But yeah, because I don't hear a lot of women channels addressing that. But there's a reality that men these days, between the Me Too movement, and men being like, okay, if I approach someone the wrong way or they don't like me, then I could face legal ramifications. So you have that. Then you just got the attitudes that sometimes these dudes got to deal with. Then you got, the confusion of just like, okay, like, if I talk to her, is she gonna mean mug me? Is she gonna not mean mug me? Like, you got the rejection thing going on. And then you have, in the same token, this expectation where it's like, okay, men are supposed to treat women equal, and 50-50-50, all that kind of stuff. But at the same token, it's like, okay, but I'm still supposed to pay for everything as a man. I'm still supposed to propose. I'm expected to do all these traditional things, but I'm not really getting any of the traditional benefits. I'm not getting the traditional benefit of like a woman who would, okay, take care of me maybe, and it be okay. That not be like, I'm being a slave or being a pick me. Like, no, a woman taking care of me, a woman taking care of a man, and that actually being seen as okay and accepted. And so I think a lot of men are just like, they're weighing, again, the benefits of getting married versus the risks of getting married. And you're talking about from just the laws themselves from a legal standpoint, on top of the ideology that exists and the expectations that exist and the inequality that exists between the men and women. I think there are also a lot of men who are just like, I just don't even really want to get married. I just don't even really want to get married. And so again, I don't really hear a lot of women talking about this, but it is actually a real thing. Okay, so I see a lot of twos. I see a whole lot of guys saying, I don't want no females to propose to me. I'm not interested. Okay, so Percy, again, thank you for the $5 super chat. Okay, he said, I would not feel right if a woman proposing to me. It's out of order. Feminine women don't propose because it's masculine and sets the tone of the relationship. So, okay, my personal opinion, I agree. I completely agree. I was the kind of woman, I never really liked making the first step. I never liked making the first move because I felt like I know that I was attracted to a certain kind of man. Now, I had, certain women who were very much go-getters and they would kind of get what they wanted. But I felt like, okay, how you initiate a relationship is going to be the way you have to maintain it. So as a woman, if you're chasing a dude, from the beginning, then you are probably going to have to chase him, throughout the entirety of the relationship. Me, I've always been attracted to more traditionally masculine men. So I just knew like, okay, it's better off for me to just, I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to just wait to see what comes my way. But I'm a lot more attracted to that because now I'm not going to have to worry about, leaving the relationship. That's just, so I was never one to want to pursue a man, but I tend to be more traditional with things too. So I feel like that was very much in line with like just being a generally more traditionally minded woman. I don't knock those women who do, who do want to pursue a guy, but I feel like, okay, if you're gonna be that person, then you should also shouldn't feel bad about proposing first. You know what I mean? If you initiate the relationship, you shouldn't feel bad about initiating marriage. And again, that is going to be the only way as a woman you can expand their options. The only way, in my opinion, that a woman can expand their marriage options, their long-term relationship options, is if they are willing to propose. If they are not willing to propose, then they have to wait for the man that they want to propose to them. They have to wait for the men that they want to say, hey, you're my wife. I want to wife you up. They're going to have to wait. And if the men that they're wanting is not checking on them, if the men that they desire is not desiring them back, then that's when you have to actually start to look at why. That's when you have to consider, okay, what's going on? Why am I not attracting the men that I want? Is it because I'm choosing wrong? Again, is it because my personality? Is it because, maybe the energy or the vibe that I'm getting off? Is it because I have expectations that are too high? Is it because I'm wanting to go at this level, but I'm at this level? Because reality is, water seeks its own level. You know what I mean? Water seeks its own level. So it's like, if you want to know where you at in the dating or relationship marketplace, if you want to know, okay, where do I rank, for lack of a better term, then you can look at, okay, well, what are the kind of guys, who are you attracting? Who are you attracting? And if you actually don't like what you're attracting, then that's generally when we have to actually start to do internal work. So thank you for those of you who have just hopped on. Please tag anybody on this who may find this interesting. Okay, so women proposing to men is perfectly fine and acceptable. Okay, so I see you agree. For those of you who just hopped on, I actually read an article from brides.com, and it said 95% of men, they did it like a survey. It said 95% of men said that they were okay with women taking the first step. 95%. 70% of men said that they were okay if the woman actually proposed to them first. So we do see, granted, that was just based upon a survey. So I can't necessarily say that was like a full blown on sociological scientific study, but it gave a general pulse to say that, like, okay, there's some men out there who are actually open to a woman proposing first. But by and large, women still, even with this modern mindset, even with them wanting to be a boss and wanting to be equal and wanting to have partners, by and large, women are still wanting men to propose first. In my opinion, most women still want to have the benefits that go along with having a traditional man while having the ability to be modern women. What that means is wanting the choice to work if you want to, or not being able to work. Wanting the choice to go and work to an 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, because 9 to 5 doesn't even really exist anymore. It's way past. Usually you're working 10, 12 hours in corporate. Let's just be honest. But wanting the choice to do the corporate thing and be the boss babe and climb the career ladder one day, and then in the very next day be like, okay, I want to stay at home and raise kids. Wanting to have that freedom, wanting to have that choice. Not wanting to have the expectation to cook because you can make money, but also wanting to have, wanting to be able to have the financial freedom to be able to maybe hire a cook or, do those kind of different things. I mean, just in my personal opinion, I think from what I've seen, it seems like the perfect setup for a modern woman, the perfect modern relationship gives women the opportunity to be modern or traditional, while men are always expected to be traditional. Men are always expected in any case, in any capacity, to provide. There's never a case where men are not expected to provide financially. There's never a case where men are not expected to lead, guide, and protect. That's always that never changes. That never changes. But women, again, are given the freedom to be modern if they want to, or to not be modern, to be traditional if they want to or not, to go to work or be the boss and have a co-partner, but then also make sure that the guy takes care of them financially, and also make sure that the guy is paying all the bills. And I think it's this imbalance. It is this imbalance that we see in relationships that many men are saying, this is a bad deal. This is a bad deal. If this is what I'm getting, if I'm going to marry a particular woman, if I'm going to marry a modern woman, if a modern woman means that I'm expected to be traditional, I have no choice in this. But she's going to she's going to treat me like her partner. She may not cook for me. She may go to work all the time. She may not be available, but I'm still supposed to pay for everything, although she's bringing in money. Like, just, and then God forbid she, initiates divorce, because unfortunately a lot of women do initiate divorce. And the courts are not in the favor of men. Just like, so guys are just thinking this is a bad deal. This is just a bad deal all around, not only from a law standpoint, but just even from a relational standpoint. There's no more social pressure for a woman to stay in a relationship with a man, or for a man to stay in a relationship with a woman. There's no longer any social pressure for couples to stay married long term. There's no longer any social pressure for a woman to treat a man a certain way, or to be expected to know how to cook, to be expected to know how to clean, to be expected to know how to maintain a home. Those social pressures don't even exist anymore in this era. So men are like, what am I getting out of the situation? Because like I said, men are still very much expected to provide in all capacities, in all situations. So let me see. So, okay, so I see you. I don't even let women pay for food, whether it's a date or a female coworker, and we just having lunch. It's just who I am. No, I hear you. And like, there's some men out there, who I know who still very much have traditional values, and they in turn generally like to be with traditional women. I was a kind of woman. Although I understand that there's very much a push for modernity amongst women, like I always was a lot more traditional minded. And so I dated guys like that. And I know that there are guys out there who still exist. But, marriage by and large, needless to say, I know there's a lot more guys out there who are not as interested in it, for the reasons that I just expressed. So again, thank you those of you who have hopped on. Please get the likes up if you find this interesting. Tag anyone on this who may find this useful. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so really that's what I would say. I think again, the primary reason women cannot expand their options is because they're just not willing to propose. They're just not willing to propose at the end of the day. And until that changes, unless that changes, then women are still in a position where they have to rely on the men to make that first step. It just is what it is. So that's why I'm like, yeah, no, you really can expand your options. Now, woman, you can expand maybe your dating options. Yeah, you can get more guys who may take you out, or who may want to, have a one-night stand, or who may want to have sex with you. Like, you can get that. But as far as having a long-term relationship where two people are committed to one another and they are bound together by God, by law, whatever it may be, if a woman is not willing to initiate that first step, and she's waiting on the man to do it, then men are the one who control the access to the relationships. Men are the one who are deciding whether or not you're going to be their wife or not. It is what it is. Okay, so you said, okay, I see Johnny K. Growing up, my sisters would kick me out of the kitchen when they were cooking dinner, told to hang out with my dad till food was ready. Miss those days. I grew up with all sisters, so I just love to cook. So I was always trying to figure out how to cook something when I could. But I do know, or at least what I've heard, even from what I know from certain women, that cooking is very much a lost art. Cooking is very much a lost art in this particular culture. I know in more traditional cultures, women are still very much expected to cook, and to know how to cook for their family, for their kids, whoever. Whereas men have other more traditional responsibilities. It is what it is. My personal opinion, actually, I did a video on this, is that, yeah, if you're a woman who wants to be married, who wants to have kids, I mean, people should just have basic cooking skills, period. Like, if you're a single person, period, you should have basic cooking skills, because it's not good to be living off of packaged food. It's not good to be living off of canned food. It's not good to be living off of DoorDash and McDonald's. That's unhealthy and expensive. So I feel like anyone who thinks they're going to be single for any amount of time should have a basic understanding of cooking. But especially in women, if you're a woman and you're like, yeah, I want to be married one day, and you like the strong alpha males, then you need to know how to cook. You need to know, at least you need to have a few recipes under the belt. because at the end of the day, most men that I know, I don't care how sophisticated they are or how modern or unmodern, most men that I know are just like, just having a woman that knows how to cook is incredibly attractive. It's incredibly attractive. I didn't make up the rules. I don't know why, but it's just, you actually talk to guys, you talk to men. Having a woman that knows how to cook is a big deal. There is a reason that there's that old saying that says the way to a man's heart is through his belly. That is a real wisdom. So, like I said, I still feel like women should, I mean, people should know how to cook. But I think as far as if you want a competitive advantage as a woman, yeah, you should probably know how to cook. You should. um, yeah. And so that's my thing. Like I said, I would say for women, if you ever hear, girl, you need to go expand your options. If you're attracted to all these dusties or whatever, expand your options, date out, either divest from the community or date interracially or consider X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. What I would honestly say to that is, first of all, if you're attracting only dusties, what does that say about you, unfortunately? Why are you continuing to attract dusties? Why are you continuing to attract a certain kind of man? That's when we have to look internally and take accountability and say, what in me is either attracted to something that's unhealthy or is drawn to something that isn't healthy. So that's when we have to actually do personal inventory. So that'll be my first thing. Like a woman who feels like she has to expand her options because the options that she's had up to that point have been detrimental. I'd say you have to take accountability and say, okay, you're the common denominator in the situation. Why have you been attracted to certain kind of drama? Why have you consistently been attracted to bad options? Like I said, that's where we as women, we have to take accountability. Secondly, recognize again that unless you as a woman are willing to propose, which most women are not, they don't want to because most women want to be pursued. I think it's in our nature. We want to be pursued. Unless you're willing to propose, then you're going to have to wait on the man to propose to you. It is what it is. It doesn't mean you can still be, be your feminine self and, whether it's drop hints or do different things, like you can still let him know you're interested. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to wait for him to do it. And so, no, that doesn't mean you can't expand your marriage options. Really, it's up to the man. And so I think the best way as a woman to actually put yourself in a position to be found by a man that you want, I think is to actually work on yourself and try to make yourself a wife. I believe that you are a wife before you ever become a wife. This is something that you were taught from you should be taught at home when you were young girls. Many of us, that's just not the case. Many women, modern women, Black women, it's just not the case. They don't necessarily know. And so they kind of have to stumble on it. But at the end of the day, the best way for you to improve your option of actually being found by a guy that you like or being chosen by a guy that you like is to actually become the person that he would want, to become the kind of person that you'd want to marry. You know what I mean? Having good character, having a strong spiritual foundation. You know what I mean? Having a strong faith in God, having a hard work ethic, having discipline, being gracious. You know what I mean? Taking care of yourself, having good hygiene. Like this may sound silly, but that's actually the best way is to actually be the kind of person that you would want to marry. Not sit around and just say, oh, well, I deserve a prince because I'm a woman, or I deserve luxury because I'm a dark-skinned woman, so therefore I deserve a high-value man just because I'm a Black woman. It's like, no, that's not true. We don't just deserve stuff just because. Like, we actually do have to put work into whatever it is that we want. And so I think that's the best way we can do it. While we can't necessarily control, the guys are going to, get down on his knees and propose or not, we can at least make it very attractive. We can at least work on ourselves to make it to where, okay, well, we would be a good option for a guy that we like, or we would be a good catch. And that's where it comes down to, again, actually taking good accountability in and becoming the kind of woman that is actually worth being married. I'm probably going to do a whole separate video on this where I really talk about, false femininity versus true femininity and what that means, because I do feel as if there's a lot of talk out there about femininity, and I think many of it is just based upon false premises. I don't know how else to say it. I don't think it doesn't really lead anywhere, and it's not really helpful to women. So I kind of want to do I'm probably going to do a whole nother talk on that, on, okay, what does it truly mean to like have true femininity versus false femininity, and how that impacts the people around us, you know, our husbands or our boyfriends or our community, whatever. So that's going to be a whole separate video. Stay tuned for that. Johnny K. So all I ask is for a home cooked meal 4 days a week, and I'll marry that girl. That's all I ask because I'm mentally exhausted afterward. Right. You said it. You said it. I remember I talked to one of my friends a few weeks ago, and I was trying to break it down to her, and I was like, it's actually really, 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 really simple. Like, most guys out there are incredibly simple as far as like what they want. A nice, pleasant, pretty girl, you know what I mean, that they can get along with, knows how to cook. Like, generally speaking, if you've got all those qualities, probably 70-80% of men are like, okay, I'm a go. I mean, of course, everyone's gonna have, you know, their little preferences. Like, oh, I may want her to look like this, or I may want her to maybe have this attribute, whatever. Like, you know, that some of that's gonna vary. But as far as just basic foundational qualities, I'm just like, most guys, it's super simple. Like, just be nice, just be cute, just be feminine, like be cooperative, like just be willing to work with him. Like, and it's not that difficult. It's really, really, really not that difficult. But I think it's become way more difficult than it needs to. I just want to say thank you, Johnny K, for that super chat. And also thank you, Percy, for that super chat. It says, I know you're a newlywed, but marriage looks good to you. Look at me. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I've enjoyed marriage so far. Yes, I am a newlywed, so I by no means pretend to be an expert in this space, but I mentioned this in previous podcasts. I want to bring on experts in this space and actually talk about that, and talk about what are the different qualities that women need, that us women need, in order to maintain families and maintain homes long term, so that we can raise up the next generation to actually be productive and not just be thoughts or prostitutes. I don't know how else to say it, because I do not support thought culture. I just think it is so damaging. But that's another topic. So thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. So yeah, so we're going to sum it up. Women, you can't expand your options unless you're willing to propose. But I think the best way to make yourself make yourself attractive to men, or make yourself attracted to the kind of guy that you want to attract, again, is just to actually become a good woman, to become a good, functional, graceful, peaceful woman. And as I mentioned, I think I'm probably going to do a totally separate topic on that and really break down what I believe true femininity is versus false femininity, because there is a lot of false femininity topics going on right now that are teaching women how to do things that I think are destructive and are not helpful for women long term. So I'm going to do probably a separate talk on that. But I would say woman is truly, if she's truly just operating in her true God-given grace and femininity, that is a beautiful quality. Unfortunately, in today's era, it's actually a rare quality. And that alone should get you to be able to attract the kind of men that you want. So you won't need to talk about, oh, these dusties are so crazy, these dusties are so dusty, I have to go to this community way over there that I have no interaction with and try to get them to marry me. Like, that's a bad false premise. Like I said, you're better off working on yourself, probably taking accountability and asking yourself, hey, why did I continue to attract dusties, or why did I continue to attract men that were damaging to me? What can I do to make sure that I attract that which is better? And then what can I do to actually work on myself? And I think that takes a mixture of accountability, that takes a mixture of having a really strong faith in God, having a strong connection to God, and having truth being spoken into you. That takes having a strong community. I mean, there's like I said, different things that need to happen in order, I think, for a woman to be able to come to the process of like, okay, I made mistakes. I made consistent mistakes. Now I have to do better. And like I said, I think I'm going to go into that in a little later podcast, because that'll take a ton of time. So anyways, I want to thank all of you guys who have been so kind to hop on and, sending your love and your super chats. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all your guys' support. I'm going to probably continue on this topic. Again, if you like this, feel free to tag anyone on or share it to anyone. Share it to any woman in particular that you think may find it useful, who needs to know the reality of, what's happening out there, what's going on, and how to actually effectively make the most of the situation she's at now. So again, thank you for those of you who tuned on. I think I'm going to wrap it up, and we're going to talk later. All right. Take care.